Hey, welcome back. I'm going to wander from Mount Sinai to the municipal trash dump of Jericho to the Civil War in Sudan and right back here to us in the United States and the Finger Lakes, wherever you are. First, I want us to stop and hover over, if we haven't done it already, that first paragraph in the book of Numbers. Quote, "They had a strong craving." We know what that feels like, craving. They also wept, it says, wept for meat. Just a little taste of meat one more time. They wept for cucumbers and melons and leeks and onions and just a little bit of garlic. They wept for what they didn't have and craved for what they once tasted. Now here's the thing. Numbers is the fourth of 5 books of Torah, and of all the fragments we have found, the oldest pieces of text we have from the Hebrew Bible are from the book of Numbers. The book, we think, dates back to the 5th century in the Persian Empire, before Alexander became king, in the years when Gautama Buddha walked the earth. That's a long time ago. And the book of Numbers is itself reaching back and telling a story about the beginning of Israel after Exodus. So we're talking about an ancient book, some 2,500 years old, telling a story about a people and the birth of a nation 500 years before it. So let's just say that this story from the book of Numbers is a 3,000-year-old echo across human time. And isn't it exactly like us? I mean, isn't it an exact description of our economic order, constantly crying out for more, better, faster, cheaper, more? They had a craving. And they wept again for more meat to eat. And Moses, whoa, oh my gosh, talk about the grievances of a leader. Why have you laid the burden of all this people on me? Did I conceive them? Is this the way you're going to treat me? Then just kill me now. Put me out of my misery. Really, just shoot me right here and now. That's what Moses says. So much whining from the people and their leaders. You can almost see God playing a little violin with some cheese and wine. I just love it when an ancient text describes in perfect detail who we are as a species, so we can see that we have been like this for a while now. We're not so smart and clever in our current scientific incarnation that we have managed to evolve our character all that much. It is helpful and fascinating to recognize and acknowledge ourselves in the mirror of history. But that said, I want to shift to hell. This may seem like an odd thing to say, but that the concept of hell is as much poetry as Mary Oliver's Late Summer Roses. But we've had so much bad religion that uses a narrative to talk about hell as real estate that it is almost impossible to get the poetry of hell. And here it is. Gehenna is where our word for hell comes from. Gehenna was the name of an actual place, actual real estate. Gehenna was the site of ancient Canaanite ritual human sacrifice, something we know that many ancient cultures did. Children could be sacrificed at Gehenna, cut open, bled, and burned to access the Canaanite gods. But such a brutal custom horrified the Israelites, who eventually became the dominant culture in Canaan. So actually, the story of Abraham of Abraham sacrificing Isaac, his son, is actually an anti-child sacrifice story. which Israel told in order to explain why they did not sacrifice children as the surrounding cultures had. God relieved Abraham of actually killing his son and used a lamb instead, the Lamb of God, so to speak. Then, jumping ahead 1,000 years from Abraham, it is the same story that brought us the idea of Jesus as God's sacrificial lamb who then saves us from hell. While God saved Abraham from sacrificing his son, God did not save himself or herself from sacrificing God's own son, Jesus. You see, there's the symmetry and the poetry of this idea and how ancient those roots are. Sacrifice on the altar of God, sacrifice on the altar to God, was a very powerful story in the ancient world, powerful enough to change human history. But it isn't such a powerful story today. And ideas of ritual sacrifice to God or gods simply don't add up for us in 2024. But now I need to go back to hell for a moment because this is all connected. So the ancient Israelites, in an act of scorn toward the notion of child sacrifice, and as a rejection of human sacrifice altogether, created a garbage dump on Gehenna. They created a garbage dump on a sacred Canaanite holy site, which is a pretty graphic denunciation. Now, 1,000 years later, in Jesus' time, Gehenna had become the site of the municipal dump for the city of Jericho. We can only imagine what it looks like under one of our mountainous landfills, and we know the smells of them, even under all that cover-up. But now close your eyes. Close your eyes and conjure up the image of an arid climate, where the dirt, if there is any, on top of the bedrock is baked by the sun and clay-fired hardness. There are no modern earth movers, so what is a municipal dump to look like? What is an ancient municipal dump going to smell like? In the ancient world, where do you put the dead bodies of indigents or peasants whose families are too poor to claim them, or miscreant beggars who have no family to begin with? Are the authorities going to allow such rotting bodies to take up precious and expensive space in a burial cave? Absolutely not. Such lifeless refuse is thrown on the garbage heap and burned. Gehenna was an endlessly smoking pile of trash rotting in the sun, where charred and worm-eaten human remains fueled a fire that was never quenched. The mythical images of hell come from that municipal garbage dump of Jericho, and much later, of course, from Dante. The idea of hell was imported from Persia, modern-day Iran, from Zoroastrianism, and brought back by the exiled Hebrews as they rebuilt Jerusalem. But the intertestamental and New Testament images come from Gehenna, a dump. So if you want to believe in hell as real estate, as an eternal punishment by a vindictive and parsimonious God, well, that's fine if that's what you want. But it seems to me we have enough horror images from our own experience. Buchenwald, Auschwitz, Cambodia, Rwanda, Sudan, and now Gaza. Why stick with an ancient trash dump when we have so many more graphic images from within our own generations of how human beings create hell for one another? But honestly, I can't get my head around a place where God not only balances the scales of justice as human beings would insist upon how they should be balanced, but also a place in which God acts as a vindictive sadist who willingly tortures those with moral failures along with the emotionally deranged. The hell we hear about from so much Christianity is littered with those who are victims of their own damaged biology, which really is all of us, even as they are were perpetrators of violence to others. That's difficult for me to reconcile with the God of love that Jesus also promoted. This idea of hell and eternal punishment does not equate with another ancient narrative, that of the prophetic God who loves mercy more than justice. Mercy more than justice. But ancient mythologies aside, the 21st century has cast serious doubts upon the idea of human beings that occupy the center of God's universe. The idea that God has a spreadsheet with each life on it is an odd and quaint idea, as odd as if the idea that the earth is flat. Knowing what we know about the cosmos, or more to the point, knowing what we don't know about the cosmos, the image of God as a moralistic accountant, keeping score on our lives with a golden abacus, seems too primitive for our world. Now, to be honest, I don't know whether Jesus' tirade about plucking out our eyes is a speech Mark put on the lips of Jesus, or it was actually Jesus and he was having a really bad day. But either way, it's hard to reconcile that with other things Jesus taught about the love and mercy of God. I've never really read any convincing commentary on it. What I know about Canaanites and Gehenna is enough to dispel for me the idea of hell as real estate, spiritual or otherwise. But even more than that, what I know about us tells me that hell and a loving, merciful God cannot coexist. We have issues in our lives that won't go away. Many, if not most of these wounds and limitations were things that we were born with, even those that didn't appear for years. On some days, these struggles and failures are more painful to acknowledge than on other days. Some days we just want our issues to just go away. Some days we feel like taking Jesus' advice and plucking out any and all dysfunctions we have. But those are on our worst days. On our better days, we recognize that God does not judge us for these things we have struggled with and often failed because of. Nor should we judge ourselves without mercy. The idea of hell is merciless, without mercy. So I don't take these verses seriously because I do not take the idea of hell seriously. You see, we're all late summer roses, one and all singing birds that one day will no longer be able to sing. We're all leaves that will turn red and golden and fall to the ground. We're all foxes teaching our children, and one day we will be replaced by those children. But we can still bloom. We can still bloom like the late summer rose, even sometimes late into the next season. The red and golden autumn disappears into the darkness of winter. That's a fact, but it's not hell. We are the late summer roses, and we'll become the lilies of the field. One note played after another across time, across seasons, across eternity, in which even new planets bloom and new stars burst open, and the creation renews itself over and over and over and over again. Once born, forever alive. It is the witness and the promise of creation, and a God that is loving and merciful beyond our wildest dreams. Once born, always alive is even a core theme of physics. Hell? That's a realm of cravings that cannot be managed, a pit we fall into when we chase our appetites. But creation? That's an always blooming rose into which we have been born. Bloom on, my friends. Bloom on. And peace be with you.